You said it was destroying the newspaper because they failed to endorse Kamala Harris. What does that say about a newspaper that you have to endorse a certain political party and for it to
What happened was that the editorial board had an editorial done and ready, and that was the process. Right. And then suddenly to say, oh, now we're not going to endorse. They've endorsed other things since. It was the process by which it went under there. And there's other things going on constantly in the paper. I now use the hashtags Broken Times and Broken Post. The headlines in both papers, I think, are constantly off, constantly trying to soft pedal what's going on. Yeah. You're not going to like what I'm saying next, but we are in the middle of a totalitarian fascist coup in this country. Yes. And when we don't call it that, when we soft pedal it, when we don't have a real discussion about it.
That's CNN doing what CNN does best, parroting Democrat talking points that don't work. And to make matters worse, that fascist coup those left-wing activists are so concerned about just got a little help from none other than the Supreme Court, once the best friend of the Democrats. That's right. President Trump has clinched yet another legal win, this time at the Supreme Court. SCOTUS has stepped in and blocked a lower court's ruling over foreign aid. Trump, as many of you know, mandated a 90-day freeze on all foreign aid. But a Biden-appointed judge, a guy named Amir Ali, didn't like that. And so he took it upon himself by judicial fiat to order President Trump to pay $2 billion in foreign aid because, in his anointed opinion, the president did not consider the, quote, extraordinary harm this action to freeze the funds could do. Yeah, extraordinary harm to the bank account of Democrats. I mean, you literally can't make this stuff up. The lunacy of these left-wing activists disguised as jurists is beyond the pale. Well, obviously, such blatant legislating from the bench, such obvious judicial activism was completely shut down by the Supreme Court. Chief Justice Roberts ruled a pause on the court-imposed midnight deadline that would have required the Trump administration to release $2 billion in frozen foreign aid. Now, the significance of all of this is that this is technically and officially the first time that Trump's efforts at dismantling the administrative state have reached the Supreme Court. As you know, activist judges in the bluest regions of our nation have been doing everything they possibly can to try to slow down and frustrate and hamper and even stop Trump from remaking the federal government into the permanent image of MAGA, of America First. And this is the first time that the Supreme Court has stepped in. And they've stepped in favor of President Trump, as we always knew they would. We've been saying this for weeks now. And again, keep in mind, we're only not even fully 6 weeks into this administration. But the court has already signaled that 5 or 6 justices are ready to crack down on these activist federal judges from intervening in executive power. It's a clear overreach when nearly 80 million people vote a president in to enact an agenda that is then thwarted by one unelected federal judge in some blue district. I mean, as Elon Musk has repeatedly said, that's not a democracy. You could throw that's not a constitutional republic. That's an oligarchy. It's a soft dictatorship. It's a rule by unelected bureaucrats who thwart the will of the people by judicial overreach into the executive sphere of law. And so that's why I want to repeatedly remind you here, as frustrating as these woke activists disguised as judges are, all of their efforts are ultimately in vain. I want you to get that. Always have that long-term view in mind. We're playing chess here. President Trump has already checkmated these judges. He's checkmated the Democrats. He's checkmated the judges. But it's going to take several more moves before they realize it, before even many people who are watching realize it. But if you know the game, if you know how chess is played, you can already see it. The chief executive, the Supreme Court has long signaled it is going to officially recognize that the chief executive does indeed have the ultimate power to remake the executive branch in any way he chooses. It's just that up until now, all the chief executives have been expanding the executive branch rather than shrink it. And it's precisely this shrinking that has everybody howling. Speaking of, did you see this? You're going to love this. President Trump just signed a new executive order expanding the powers of DOGE. That's right, expanding their powers. The executive order basically requires every single government department to have a mini Elon. DOGE will now have representatives in every single government agency. And according to the executive order, DOGE will be in charge of cutting costs of the agency and, quote, building a centralized technological system within the agency to seamlessly record every payment issued by the agency pursuant to each of the agency's covered contracts and grants, along with a brief written justification for each payment submitted by the agency employee who approved the payment. In other words, accountability, transparency, and accountability. And the latest victim of DOGE is none other than the infamous IRS. That's right. The auditors are finally being audited, and they are being found wanting and packing. It was just announced that the IRS has been ordered to shutter over 120 offices nationwide. That closure represents approximately 1/5 of all IRS offices. 7,000 IRS agents are automatically getting the axe. And again, it's just getting started. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Well, you remember, we're not even a full 6 weeks into this presidency. And that's why, after 4 unfortunate years of bumbling Biden, so many Americans are still having kitchen table problems. A lot of us are carrying really high credit card balances that charge us, 20% or more each and every month. Gang, it's time to get rid of those. So homeowners, if you've been waiting to figure out how to get your finances in order, you need to call my friends at American Financing today. American Financing's salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you tap into their home's equity to get out of high-interest debt. Get this, American Financing is saving their average customer $800 a month just by doing this alone. $800 a month. Saving that kind of money every month should make this decision really easy. All it takes is a 10-minute, no cost, no obligation phone call to find out how much you can save. And to make it even sweeter, if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. Call American Financing today, 866-889-1776. That's 866-889-1776. Or click the link below and visit them at americanfinancing.net/Turley. Unfortunately for these activist judges, it was just announced that another 4,000 USAID workers have been fired. They were given 15 minutes to clear out their desks before they were escorted out of the building. When all is said and done, I know this activist judge is not going to like this, but when all is said and done, USAID is dead. It's over. It's not coming back. At least not anytime soon. No amount of judicial activism can change that. And this is because it's all part of Trump's threefold plan to remake the federal government, which involves restoring national sovereignty, so particularly at the southern border with the mass deportations, that, by the way, he's ratcheting up even as we speak, economic sovereignty in the form of tariffs and energy independence, and the dismantling of the administrative state and the deep state that together have served as the principal dynamic that continuously lurches the nation to the political left. 92% of D.C. votes Democrat. 92% of D.C. votes Democrat. Let that hit you. It is the bluest of the blue in the entire nation by far. It makes California look like Alabama by comparison. And so it's the administrative state in D.C. that is the principal impetus, the principal dynamic lurching the nation to the left. Dismantle that administrative state, and you've removed the very heart of the left-wing cardiovascular system and effectively killed it. And that's precisely what President Trump is doing. It's something he began to implement in his first term with Steve Bannon advising him. Bannon argued that MAGA, when all is said and done, MAGA was organized around 3 pillars, or what he called verticals. the restoration of national sovereignty, the implementation of economic nationalism, and what he called the deconstruction of the administrative state. But back then, in his first term, Trump literally had no political clout. It was amazing what he was able to accomplish with that swamp gathered against him from both sides, from both parties. I mean, he had very little political power in terms of the practical outworking of the executive branch. He was hated by virtually everyone in D.C. Ted Cruz refused to endorse him at the Republican National Convention. Do you remember that in 2016, the summer 2016? Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan repeatedly, reportedly were laughing at Trump behind his back, knowing that the swamp was going to eat him alive. Trump had literally no power in that all the political leverage was with the swamp at the time. Again, it's stunning what he was able to accomplish given those obstacles, that adversity. What we have to get is all of that has changed, and it has changed dramatically. Ever since Trump's very real resurrection in Butler, PA, after the first assassination attempt, ever since he rose up and called on the whole nation to fight, 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 he has been unstoppable. That was the night that Elon Musk officially endorsed him and joined the MAGA team. That was a couple of days later, RFK came on. Tulsi Gabbard came on. He has literally been unstoppable from that very moment, which we argue was a bona fide divine miracle. That was divine intervention. And we could see it. We're seeing how we dodged our own bullet back on November 5th. That was our own. That was the nation's Butler. When, by God's grace, now we have this miracle unfolding before us. We are now seeing, after the biggest Republican landslide in 2 generations, we are now seeing a political mandate and a political power that is frankly unprecedented. You have to remember, even Reagan did not have power like this. He was constantly hampered by a Democrat-controlled Congress. Remember Tip O'Neill? So Trump is now completely free to institute his threefold plan to remake the federal government in the permanent image of MAGA and forever end the never-ending lurch to the left, animated and dictated by a Democrat-dominated administrative state. And as we're seeing with the Supreme Court, the last line of defense that the left has, the courts, they're about to be obliterated. There's no stopping this. The Trump train has arrived. A new day has dawned in our nation, and it's absolutely glorious. By the way, click on the link in the description below to get all these articles and tweets I reference throughout my videos emailed to you each and every day. You're going to love it. We want you to have the best resources out there to convince your family and your friends of this new MAGA super age that's rising here. Time is running out to register for the America's Golden Age Summit. It's this Thursday, February 27th, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. You do not want to miss it. It's online, so you can enjoy it from the comfort of your own couch. I've got an incredible lineup of guests ready to show you exactly how to prosper in America's new golden age, from building wealth and getting healthy to thriving in the rising patriot economy. And here's the deal. Register right now for $10 with promo code GoldenAge25. That's GoldenAge25. And you're going to get a free extra ticket to give away to family and friends. Plus, loads of free bonuses, including 3 months of Courageous Conservative Club membership. So time's running out. Don't wait. Secure your spot now at the link below.